Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cantina Cast. I am your host, Mike, and I'm joined. I can't even talk, Joa. I am joined by my former co-host, who's now my new co-host, Joa. Joa, say hello.
Hello, it's good to be back, and for those who are tuning back into us, I just want to say thank you, and for any new listeners out there, thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Joe, we got like a million things to talk about, and initially I was going to say, well, let's talk about how we got back together here and all that stuff, but we might have to save that for another show because we got tons of things to talk about. So, I guess, folks, all you need to know is the Force brought us back together. So, Joa, I guess we'll go into our first topic here. Our first real juicy topic is where were you when you heard the big announcement that Disney was buying Lucasfilm and the big reaction to Episode 7, which I thought would never ever happen in my lifetime. So, what are your thoughts? What will happen? Tell me all about it.
Well, actually, I always thought there would be more live action movies. I always told my wife there would be. She was pretty skeptical. I just always thought there would be. I was like, I don't know if it's going to take George Lucas. I hate to say this, passing away, leaving it to somebody else, or something like that. I was like, there's too much money to be made.
Yeah.
But as far as how I heard about it, I was asleep and I woke up. I was taking a nap. I woke up, checked the text message from my friend at work, who's a big Star Wars fan and a big Clone Wars fan, actually. And he said, Disney buys Lucasfilm for $4 billion. They're making a new trilogy. And my first reaction was, no, Darth Vader style, right?
Yeah.
Like my initial reaction was that. And then
I think everyone had that at the moment. I did at first, but
yeah,
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
it
I don't
took
want
me
to
a
interrupt.
couple days. And then I started thinking, well, as long as like I hope they have this and I hope they have that, and then I got excited, and then, but yeah, I mean that's how I heard about it. How did you hear about it?
Well, I was actually we were battening down the hatches here for Hurricane Sandy at the time, and I'm just playing around on my computer, and all of a sudden I'm looking. I'm like, Disney buys Lucasfilm. I'm like, all right, didn't we have April Fools like already? What is I like everyone else? I was just shocked, and then I just stunned. And then when I see Episode 7, I'm like, all right, now I know someone's full of bantha poodoo because this is not true at all. So the more I looked into it, it's true. It's absolutely true. They showed George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy talking on YouTube there and everything. I'm like, really? I can't believe this. This is not real. I had to pinch myself. And then, like you and like a million other fans, I had that instant 1990s Disney type mentality in my head, and I did the old no. But the more I sat back and thought about it, it's the only place that this makes sense, really, other than George passing it on to one of his kids or maybe Dave Filoni or something like that. This makes a lot of sense, and I think this will preserve the franchise, and I'm happy about it. The more I think about it, the more I get into it, the more I like it. So I'm pretty happy about that. As far as Episode 7 came, that was the biggest jaw dropper of all. I never thought we'd have anything 7, 8, 9, and beyond. I figured we'd have something with Star Wars: The Old Republic because of the video game and stuff. I thought maybe if it was a bigger hit, maybe they probably would have went ahead with that. And I'm sure we're going to get that, but we'll talk about the spin-offs later on down the episode here. But I'm very excited. So I can't believe we're going to be talking about this. Now we have something to talk about, Joe.
Yeah, I was initially, yeah, I mean, it was total shock. There's no doubt about it. And it was like if you're a big enough fan like we are and so many other people are, it's like a jolt to your system. It's like, because even like I said, I always thought there would be.
Yeah.
It was like, still, it was out of the blue, and it was just out of nowhere. It was out of, it was out of left field, and just total shock. It was just one of those things that was just, and how you said Disney, they're the only ones who really can do it. I mean, they really probably are. They're the only one out there, I think, that has the real resources to really do Star Wars justice. And you go back to, everybody points to the Avengers,
Yeah.
and these Marvel movies that they're coming out with now, and that's good too. But I mean, they're the ones who really what kicked them off, to me, getting into a little bit more serious. Not that these are necessarily serious movies, but the Pirates of the Caribbean movies,
Yeah.
that they spun off of their own ride, and then they
Yeah.
make 4 movies and probably going to be a 5th movie somewhere down the line of, and I love all of those movies. I know some people will disagree with me on all of them, but I love them all.
I enjoyed them. I thought they were good.
Yeah, I mean, and so I mean, they showed me with that they definitely have the capability and they have the resources. It's not Disney; it's the people working for Disney, and they have the resources to literally get anybody that they want, except for maybe a James Cameron or somebody like that or Peter Jackson, who has their own thing going on and just. But I mean, a point percent of people, they can get anybody else in the world, talent wise, really to work on this stuff, and that's a good sign. And they're probably the only ones who could pull that off.
I agree. So what do you hope to see in episode 7? Well, we just daydreaming here. We got like years to talk about this stuff now, Joe. So I'm very excited. So what do you hope to see at least?
Well, Rachel's favorite character in the EU was Jaina, and we all know that they've said this is original story. They're not going to take any stories from the EU and make a movie out of it. Okay, we get that.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that we can't have some of the characters from the EU. Obviously, it's pretty much a given that Han and Leia are going to have some kids in this movie. They are going to be the protagonists in this movie. I doubt can't really be too much argument out there that right now that's probably what's going to end up happening. They're going to be the Jedi protagonist, a passing of the torch type of a thing.
Yeah, that's my main thing is to see.
I hope that they keep the name Jaina for my wife, and really
I think they will.
I've got a soft spot for that. So that's the one thing, and and we'll talk about Harrison Ford a little bit later in the big 3. But I've got another thing that not necessarily. I think that I want to see it, but I think that it has to happen to get him back. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Well, I like you just touched on it, symbolizing the fandom in a sense. Like this is like Star Wars is all about symbols and mythology and everything, as we all know. Blah blah blah. But for me, it's a special thing because now I have a daughter, and she's gonna grow up with Star Wars, which is an amazing thing. And you have to see some kind of symbolism in the movie of like it would be like George passing the torch to to the new director and the new filmmakers, but also as us as fans, is like our generation that grew up with Luke and Leia and Han, something that symbolizes, all right, it's their turn now. Now it's like my daughter's turn and whoever else's son and daughter now. You know what I mean? I want to see something that'll make people click in their head like, oh, yes. It's kind of like symbolizes the passing of our generation that grew up with the original trilogy, the prequels, and now these guys have their own thing and it goes off from there. I would like to see that. And Ben Skywalker as well. I know it's crazy. I'm not a big fan of Return of the Jedi, post-Return of the Jedi EU, but I do like the Ben Skywalker and stuff like that. So I hope I see some of that. And I think Lucas has shown that he has, from time to time, like in the Clone Wars, he's pulled characters' names and certain places from the EU. So he pays homage to the EU. It's not like he's completely crapping on it, although most of you EU people will think so. But I don't. I hope he pulls. There's a lot of things that they can take from the EU and make into something awesome. So I don't have any doubt about that. I think they will. And yeah. So you wanted to talk about Harrison Ford and getting the big 3 back. So what was your suggestion with that, sir?
Well, obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is dollar signs.
Yeah, that's everything.
Dollars.
I thought they all said they were coming back. Or
well,
willing to come back, I should say. They are willing to come back.
I think Harrison Ford is going to be the big one because he's going to be the hardest to convince. And I remember he was on Conan a couple years ago. It wasn't a couple years ago. It was when Cowboys and Aliens come out, and he went on there to promote that. And Conan asked him, "What about an Indiana Jones 5?" And he just kind of rubbed his fingers together, that dollar signs.
Yeah.
That for money. He was like, how much money are they going to give me? And he didn't have no problem even saying that. I mean, he's money. He's like, if they give me enough money, he's like, I'll do Indiana Jones 5. Obviously, a lot of Star Wars fans know that he likes Indiana Jones a lot more than he likes Han Solo.
Yeah.
He's had some negative things in the past to say about Han Solo and really about Star Wars kind of in general. He's not been overly negative. He's almost got like that kind of Ewan McGregor type of mentality when it comes to Star Wars. He's just he knows that, at least for Harrison, it made him a movie star.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor was already, I don't know if he was a movie star. Obviously, he's a lot more popular now that he's done. A lot more people know who he is, but he was doing movies before this, unlike Harrison, who'd only been in a handful of things. But Harrison, he did say, I think, that he was open to returning, and I believe that was quoted somewhere in an interview right after all this happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you're going to have to pay. I think Mark Hamill, you're going to have to give him a lot of money. I don't think, and like I said, resources. Disney's got the resources.
True.
They're going to pay him whatever. You'll get Harrison to come back. I think the big thing, though, it's going to, not just money, it's going to be, what is the script like? Yeah. You're going to have to show him the script, and Harrison's not coming back for 3 movies. He's not doing it. You're going to have to kill him in episode 7. He wanted to die in Empire Strikes Back, and George Lucas said no, and Harrison said, well, it was his movie, but he just wanted to move on, do his Indiana Jones and do all his other movies. He didn't want to come back and do Return. So that is the key, I think. And I think that you write the story right. He dies at the end of the movie, and that sets up for his kids, okay, or am I going to walk the light path or the dark path leading into episode 8?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a key. If the script is good, you pay him a lot of money, and you kill him off. Those are the 3 things. And Harrison Ford will come back and do episode 7, but that's all he will do. He will not come back for 3 movies. He just won't do it. I'm just following Harrison. My wife's fandom of him.
Yeah.
So I kind of know his personality a little bit. Obviously, I don't know him in person, so that's still speculation. But that's the feeling I get. He's not coming back for 3 movies.
Well, that's what we do on the show. We speculate very well. But I think, well, here's my question. Do you kill him in the first one? I think yes. But because everyone's expecting that, would you hold it off to the beginning of the second of episode? Did I just lose you? No, I'm sorry. Do you hold it off for episode 8? Like the beginning of episode 8? Do you do that or do you just get it over with?
I think you do. I think you do the cliffhanger. I think you do the cliffhanger in episode 7 instead of episode 8. I think you kill him right at the end. That's the climax of the movie. And then that's going to lead people, oh, great, now I've got to wait like 2-3 years for episode 8 to see what his kids do, what Luke does, what Leia does, and all these people. I think it's your I am your father moment for this trilogy. I think Han dying is that moment for this trilogy.
Well, it's the catalyst.
I think you've got to do it at the end of a movie, and I don't think you're getting them for 2 whole movies. And I think that that's a good way. They're in there, the big 3 are in there, and then one of them dies, and then it makes something significant because nobody in the first trilogy, nobody ever died. None of the big guys ever died. Not. I mean, you had Lando, you have Chewie also beyond the big 3. You know, the droids really can't die. They get torn up and stuff, but you can just rebuild them.
Oh, you know they'll be back, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They have to be back. Now, let me ask you this. How would you want Han to die? I personally think there's only 2 ways this is going to go. The Falcon has to explode and die a fiery death, or we got to bring back an old nemesis out of the Sarlacc pit. Now, in my fandom, he's already dead, but if there's anyone who's going to come back, I mean, hell, they brought Darth Maul back with a severed half body there. And so I think they could bring him back. I would love to see Boba Fett take him out if that's the case. And then that could start the whole thing with the kids getting all, which way am I going to go? It's just my little dream. But
I think that whoever the antagonist is kills him. I think that he's trying to I think that it's going to be some kind of a dark Jedi or a Sith or somebody reinventing the Sith or whatever.
Well, see, here's the thing.
There's got to be the bad guys got to have a lightsaber, don't they?
I know. Well, see, here's the thing. This is the conflict because according to prophecy, Anakin destroyed the Sith. So there should be no more Sith. So is it going to be a dark Jedi? Is it going to be, I don't know, remnants of the Empire? Who knows? I don't know what it'll be. So it'll be kind of interesting. The prophecy really was bringing balance to the Force. True. Misread
anybody
prophecy may be.
The key is is that anybody can just say, "Well, I'm the new Sith Lord."
True.
I could do that right now.
Uh-oh.
So I mean, it's not like the
Darth
word.
Joe.
It's not like the word is eradicated from Star
No,
Wars
yes,
in the
true.
galaxy's history. Somebody can just whoever
Reclaim the
this
name.
is, and they don't even have to. Maybe they start a new organization or anything. I
Yeah.
think they've got to have a lightsaber though, or
I
something.
agree. No one's going to want to watch it if there's
They've
no
got
other
to have
lightsaber.
force. They're going to have force powers. I mean, otherwise it's going to be. It's going to have to be a really clever way of how somebody can fight a Jedi with no force power and no lightsaber. It's just going to have to be very clever if they go that route. And Michael Arndt, maybe he can, and maybe Lucas has got something in mind, and maybe he can write it to be very clever like that. And if anybody could, I would think he can do it. But I think it needs to be whoever the main antagonist is. I think Han needs to die from him, and I think that it doesn't need to be. I think it needs to be somewhat Qui-Gon Jinn like, to where maybe he does get a lightsaber through the chest or something, but he needs a death scene.
Oh yeah,
You don't blow him up. I think he needs a death scene. He needs to, and maybe somebody can contact us and let me know. I don't know if Harrison Ford has ever died in a movie before.
That's a good question.
So would
what about the one where he was with Michelle Pfeiffer in that one? Didn't he die?
He might have. Yeah, he was the bad guy in that. Maybe he did die in that, but that was where he was he probably just got his head split open or something at the end.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was, but anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought he died in that one. But anyway.
Something where he ended up killing the girl and she was a ghost and came back and told Michelle Pfeiffer, who was his wife in the movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I think this would be a different. He's never done a death. If he has died in the movie, I don't think he's ever gotten a real death scene. So as an actor who's getting up there in age, is that not something that maybe he would want to tinker with too? Like, is that not something he would want to play one time and get that, get his acting juices going right there and do a death scene? So
yeah, well,
I think, and that goes back to how well the script is written and how much he likes it. And I think if you give him a death scene, he's got to say something. And then that little kiss right there at the end of the movie, that's your climax, and then maybe you get one more scene where all the Jedi are, paying homage to him or whatever, and his kids and the family and everybody. And
well, he's got to sacrifice, is what he's got to do. He's got to, because that's a kind of a theme in Star Wars, is sacrificing for your kids or whatever, your friends. That's part of the theme. So I assume that's what we'll get. His type of death scene if he dies in Episode 7. I think it might be 8, but I'm probably wrong because I think you're right. You just got to kill him, get it over with, and we can all move on, and all hell breaks loose after that. So, all right, let's see. All right, so let's talk about the 3D postponements, cancellations, or whatever you want to call it. Is this a good sign for Episode 7? Did Episode 1 not do so well? Is that why this is a problem? Thoughts, Joe? What do you think?
I think it's a combination. I don't think that Episode 1 did quite as well in the box office as they thought, and then with this announcement that they're making these new movies, they don't need to be wasting time, working on Episode 2, Episode 3. Maybe they'll completely be canceled, but I think it's a good sign that they're turning all their focus to Episode 7, because obviously the people who are working on this, these people, when they sold it to Disney, it's not like people lost their jobs. They just engulfed the company. Yeah, they just engulfed the company. And then these people who are working at Lucasfilm, it's not like Lucasfilm isn't a company anymore. It is. It's just a subsidiary of Disney. So these people who are working on this project, they're like, no, we need your talents over here on Episode 7. Obviously, every Star Wars movie, unless this 3D thing dies out at some point, these movies are coming out in 3D. These new ones, they're going to be filming them in 3D. So they're all coming out. They're going to be made to be shown like that simultaneously. Honestly, it's nice to go see Star Wars on the big screen again.
Yep.
And it was to go see it. And that was the first, in Episode 1 in 3D was the first time I had ever got to see Star Wars on the big screen with Rachel, my wife. And, so it was nice to do that. But at the same time, I think personally the whole 3D thing is overrated. So I'm not disappointed in it. But
yeah, I was never, I think even on the old episodes of the show, I think Brian and I even talked about how we didn't like 3D. I always thought it was a gimmick. But like you said, the new movies that are being shot now, they're in 3D. So maybe the conversion type of movie of like converting the old 2D to 3D, maybe that type of stuff is over with. I think if it's a newer type of movie like Avengers, Iron Man 3 or whatever, it's going to be shot in 3D anyway. So it'll be easier and more cost effective, I would imagine, for them. I
Absolutely.
think, yeah. So I don't think, I think we'll see these things at some point, but it's going to be way down. Not only that, Fox kind of owns the rights to these in a sense, right? So
Yeah,
how does this?
actually, that was a good thing because I think I brought this up to you off air
Yep.
a couple days ago. I was like, what does Fox think about that, or
Hmm.
what was their involvement in this? Because they're the ones who own the rights right now these uh to these old movies, and
Yep.
it's well, these are you know is it not cost efficient for them? Really, they're just a distributor anyway. They're
Yeah.
not really. They just own rights to it. They've never owned Star Wars in any way.
No.
And that was the thing when they first did it. That was the funny thing is Lucas got even all the marketing and everything, so he could sell all the toys, and they never got a piece of it. And they just didn't care anything about it back in the 70s. They didn't know that you could do this and make toys and posters and lunch boxes and flamethrowers and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But so they've never owned it. They're just a distributor that releases the movie under their banner. Now it will
Well,
be. Now that's one thing though. The Fox you're not hearing the dun dun dun
I know.
for the movie, that's going to be missed, and I think tons of people have touched on that already. So I
Yeah.
won't really go into it, but I have to wonder. I don't know what Fox is thinking. Maybe they're all right with it, but I would think that hey, with this new explosion of Star Wars, wouldn't the new
The original's
3D
gonna make.
movies
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
maybe more people would go to them with the anticipation? Oh well, I got to get me I got to get my fill of Star Wars on the big screen before Episode 7 comes out. So I don't know. It's I have to wonder what Fox thinks about it, but I really have no idea, or maybe they don't have any say in it because all they are is a distributor, and the rights were always up to Lucasfilm to release it or to not release it.
Well, I think eventually we'll see something of this, and episode 2, I think would have to be almost done, and episode 3 would probably be just about done. So I'm wondering if, like, in between the movies of like 8, 9, and 7 and all that, if they'll just, I think I just counted wrong, but whatever. In between that, maybe they'll throw them in there. Like just say, oh hey, not in the summer, but over the winter. Like, there's really nothing going on in the winter. And Star Wars is not going to be released in like the fall or the winter. It's going to be smack dab in the summer. So maybe they'll do something like that. I don't know. I think we'll see them at some point. Let's hope. I personally, I went and saw episode 1. I'd prefer to see it in just the regular format if it was just me, because it didn't really seem that much better to me than anything
I
else.
think some places they did actually release it in a 2D format, so you could just go see it in 2D.
Yeah.
Not in my area, they didn't, but I think in some locations, if they didn't have 3D, that you could just go see it in 2D. I do believe that's correct.
Yeah. Well, so because then again, 3D to me is just a gimmick. But
I agree.
hey, I could be wrong. Then again, I'm kind of cross-eyed, so I can't see it exactly right. So maybe that's where my bitterness comes from. But anyway, so I guess we'll go on to the bigger news, Joa. Unless you have anything else to say about the 3D, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off if you had anything else to say.
No, I agree with you on the 3D aspect and everything.
All right, so let's move on to the thoughts on Jj Abrams. What do you think? What was your initial reaction when you heard this one?
To be honest, I didn't know what to think. I remember watching the new Star Trek movie with a couple of friends a couple of years ago. We watched it at my house here. My dog was really acting up. She was still a puppy, and it was like me, my wife, and then 2 other couples. So it was like 6 of us in the house, and the dog was just going crazy. So I didn't get to enjoy the movie, and I've never watched it again since. We're not huge Star Trek fans. I have heard some people say that they thought that the new Star Trek movie felt more Star Warsy in the way it was filmed. I can't say that because I haven't watched a lot of Star Trek stuff. But I didn't have a bad initial reaction. It seemed like they wanted J.J. Abrams. And one thing I thought was interesting was back in November, he initially said, no, he's not doing it. Somebody asked him on a red carpet or something somewhere.
Yeah.
Initially asked him on a red carpet somewhere, something like that. It was in it was posted up on the Force.net or somewhere that he said no. And then now to revert and to say, yes, I am doing the movie. So, we've all seen that Kathleen Kennedy, Kathleen Turner, who's that?
I don't know. Good question.
Anyway, she's somebody. Anyway.
Yeah.
The thing is that she went and pitched him something and he bought into it. Apparently it was a couple-hour conversation. He had to have seen something that Michael Arndt had been writing, I think. They're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. And then there's a couple other people who's worked with him that have also worked on the Star Wars movies in the past, the original trilogy and the prequels and stuff. Some behind-the-scenes guys. So I think he knows something about the script. Obviously, he's had to. A director of this magnitude on a movie of this magnitude is not going to say, I'm going to direct the movie without seeing any of the script. He's seen at least a draft, and that's a good sign if a script can turn a director from saying no to yes. So that's a really good sign, I think.
Well,
go ahead. As far as JJ himself, I don't have that much experience with him. I know he's directed a few movies, and seems like a really, really creative guy. I'll just go through this really, really quick. And he wrote Armageddon. Love that movie. I've watched it 8 million times.
But go ahead.
You hate Armageddon? Bruce Willis? No.
No, it's the science. I just can't do it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, the movie is hilarious to me. I guess
says the guy that likes Star Wars that has no physics that are based in. Never mind. Go ahead. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Like why wasn't in Episode 3? Why wasn't Obi-Wan and Anakin's lungs sucked out? When the Grievous broke the glass open there on the starship, and Grievous himself, like all his organs are exposed. Yeah. But anyway.
Sorry.
But he directed the Super 8 movie. Have not seen that yet.
I love that.
I haven't seen it yet.
That is an excellent movie.
I'm gonna have to. I've been meaning to check it. I need to check it out because I like to do my research.
Yep.
As soon as Michael Arndt was announced as the writer, I watched Toy Story 3. I haven't watched Little Miss Sunshine yet. That's what he won the Oscar for. Need to watch that.
Both are pretty good, by the way.
He did Mission. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say both of those movies are really, really good. I was actually surprised. I liked Little Miss Sunshine myself, and Toy Story 3 is just a phenomenal, I thought, movie myself. But
Toy Story 3 shows he can write an ensemble cast.
Yes,
because there's so many little characters in it that really show. And if there's anything Star Wars is, especially the original trilogy, it's an ensemble cast. With AJ though, I was thinking that and he did Mission Impossible 3. I watched it one time. It was a popcorn flick. It was pretty good, I guess. So, yeah, Jj Abrams, he has done a lot of different things through my research I've seen. I haven't kept up with him that much until obviously this, but he co-created Felicity, created Alias, Lost, and Fringe, along with the movies he's directed. So, he's got a wide range of things that he's done. I just wanted to read this from the Force.net forums. Corvax855, he doesn't necessarily agree with Mike's opinion on Jj Abrams, and I've just got a little bit. I want to read a little bit of what his post said. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's very long, but you can find all kinds of conversation over on the Force.net forums about Episode 7 and really anything relating to Star Wars. They've got forums for everything. But this is what Corvax855 said. He said, with J.J. Abrams directing, my excitement for Episode 7 has diminished almost completely. He's not a very good choice in my opinion, although I understand why Disney picked him. It boils down to 3 reasons. He rescued 2 franchises in Mission Impossible and Star Trek. 2, he's become a fan favorite amongst geeky internet culture. And he's good friends with and protege of Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy. You know the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, that's basically the reason he was chosen, unfortunately. So why do I think he's a poor choice? For one, I don't think he's that good. His visual style so far has run counter to that of Star Wars. The 6 Star Wars films that exist today have a very simple yet elegant and old-fashioned style. J.J. Abrams films everything as if it were a car commercial, with heavy use of handheld cameras, heavy use of filters, and heavy use of theatrical lighting. Another problem I have with him is that he doesn't seem to understand the source material of the projects he works on. And he goes on to say why he goes on to point out things in Mission Impossible and in the Star Trek series that he doesn't respect the source material. And this goes on for paragraphs. And I'll post this actually on Facebook or something, and so you can read the whole thing, but I'm not going to take up the whole show with it. And then he gets one response, or he probably got several responses. This is the response I picked. Sith Lord Darth Ritchie said, big difference being that he's a Star Wars fan, in which case he is more likely to understand and respect the source material. He stated he was not a Trek fan when he did Star Trek, and the stylings of the films upset various Trekkers because they felt it was too Star Wars in the way it was done. But that is what JJ was going for. He didn't think he'd ever be able to direct a Star Wars movie because they were meant to be all finished, and so Trek was the closest thing he would get to do to one. Fans tend to treat material better. Look at Favreau and Iron Man, or Whedon and Avengers. Now JJ has the chance to actually do Star Wars. No reason to think he won't do it well. It's worth noting that Irvin Kershner did a lot of Empire the way he wanted it done, and it turned out very well.
But that's not going to happen here. By Star Wars, we're going to see Mickey in the middle of a movie and all this. You know, we had all these crazy ideas in our head. But then the second guy, he makes my argument for me in a sense. Well, not really my argument, but that when I saw the YouTube video of him talking about the mystery box, you know, and he goes on and on and on about that styling and that imagination that, oh, what the heck is this? You know, you get that sense of mystery. And not only that, he's a Star Wars fan, number one, and he's going to treat it with absolute the utmost respect, as any one of us fans would do if we had a chance to do that. So that's my suggestion to the first guy is if you think you know all, then why don't you go out and do your own Star Wars movie or something like that? You probably couldn't. I know I couldn't, but in any case, I think we're in good hands, and I don't think we should worry so much. But I get their concerns. I don't want people to think, you know, because they're worried or something that I think their opinions are not valid or their concerns aren't valid. I just think we should do a little wait and see. I think it's too early for us to all start just throwing tomatoes at it and everything else. But I think we're in good hands, as I said 400 times already. I think we'll be fine. Any more thoughts, Joe?
No, like I say, I'm going to do more research, and maybe later on down the line I'll have more to say on J.J. Abrams. I'm going to watch a couple more of his movies. I need to watch Star Trek again. I need to watch Super 8. And I want to watch, and as far as Michael Arndt goes, I want to watch Little Miss Sunshine and stuff, and really get more familiar, doing more research. But at this point, I'm not gonna throw opinions out there and stuff on the wall when I haven't done quite all the research yet. So
well. Yeah, I haven't either. I'm just going based on what I've seen and what I feel, and I think we're in good hands. And I think, like, it's just too early for us all to just start, like, throwing tomatoes and start thinking. And I think part of the problem we have is that we're never going to see Episode 4 and Episode 5 like that again. That was lightning in a bottle that was captured twice, which was an amazing thing. Even Return of the Jedi wasn't as good as the other two. And the prequels, of course not. They're not going to be as good as that original stuff that we had there. It's never going to happen again. And even this one's going to be overhyped, and it's not going to be as good as those. But well, yes, it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting, and it's more Star Wars. And we finally have Star Wars.
It could be even better. But
That's true.
The hype will destroy it from ever being seen as better, though.
Exactly.
We have to realize that.
Yeah, George Lucas set the bar so high back in those early days, and then we have our expectations are just so overblown and inflated. It's never going to be.
And get ready, the critics will tear this ship apart until it finds those plans. They will tear it apart, and no matter what, no matter how good the movie is. So when this movie, we got a long time for these movies to come out.
Yeah.
But when you go into the movie theater, don't read reviews. You know, I mean, do it if you want to, but you're just gonna, get hyped up. But if you read the reviews are not going to be good, no matter what. This thing it's never going to be nominated for an Academy Award like A New Hope was. It's just never going to happen. They don't nominate movies like this.
Yeah, it's just not going to be. Yeah,
even The Hobbit, they tear The Hobbit apart. The Hobbit was a great movie in my opinion. Now everybody hates. I was on a website and they were saying, "Oh, was there more singing and walking?" Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I mean,
Well,
no, I mean seriously. Like now, people are tearing the original Lord of the Rings apart. I was like, this has gone too far. People are so
well,
critical.
I think
It's jaded. It's stupid.
I think it's the cool thing to just bash
Yes.
those things. And I think,
Yeah.
well, it sounds cool to like diss George Lucas in the prequels because, that's just what everyone's saying. And because, the originals are so sacred. And they are, they're great. But you know what? I see the whole thing as one big movie anyway, as George sees it as himself. Even with the Clone Wars, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But I just relax, people. It'll be okay. We'll be all right. Besides, you all survived Jar Jar, who I actually love, by the way. Let me just, go on the record
My
and say
dad
that.
laughed his ass off when I showed him episode 1,
Yeah.
like when he goes for the fruit in Anakin's
Yeah.
house with his
Yeah.
tongue, and Qui-Gon catches his tongue. My dad was laughing, and he had no Star Wars bias at all,
Hmm.
and he thought Jar Jar was funny. He thought, and my dad is not a type of guy that laughs. He was in the Marines. I've seen him laugh, like literally laugh, genuinely laugh, a handful of times in my entire life, and
Yeah.
he chuckled at Jar Jar. So I mean, that's just, I mean, say what you will, but I know my dad's sense of humor. Not He doesn't have much of one. He's not a hard ass. He's a very nice man, but he just doesn't laugh a lot. He's just never. He didn't grow up that way, I don't think, or whatever. He's not like me or my mom or a lot of other people I know. He just doesn't express himself with laughter, and he chuckled at Jar Jar. So I mean, I think sometimes people just need to get over themselves. Sometimes, I mean, if you genuinely don't like Jar Jar, that's fine. That's your opinion, and I'm not saying that I love him or anything like that. But I think there is an audience for that, and I'm just saying for somebody who he's not a Star Wars fan. He watched it with me because he knows I like it, and he enjoyed all the movies, and he enjoyed Jar Jar. So I'll just say that.
Well, and then let's look. Look, the biggest crime of all was the Ewok. So we'll just leave it at that. And Jar Jar's not so bad. So anyway, moving along, Joe. We're gonna go all day here, but we're gonna go into the spin-off news, which broke like last night. If you're listening to this, we're recording this on February 6th. And by the way, happy birthday to my dad. So I'll just get that out there.
Oh, there's another dad reference. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Happy
So,
birthday, Mike's dad.
Thanks. It's Star Wars is about father-son relationships anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into the spin-off, which we knew was going to happen. I mean, this is not shocking, so I don't know why anyone's shocked that there would be any spin-offs anyway. The only thing that shocked me was last night they were talking about a Yoda spin-off, which I can't see working for the life of me. Although, Joey, you said that they talked about Episode 0 being Yoda at age 100 or so. I've never heard this myself.
Yeah, this was just maybe a year or two after Episode 3, and I heard rumors that they could do a Yoda spinoff. Of course, it might have just been somebody just writing an article. I don't know if there was any true rumors to it. I just remember it being thrown out there about him being like 100 years old, and giving maybe his origins a little bit more.
Yeah.
And showing him being an active Jedi.
Which would be something interesting. I would think he would have to be either a Padawan or just becoming a master himself, not on the council or anything, kind of like a Qui-Gon or something like that.
If he's that old, he might
Yeah.
not mature until he's like 100 years old. So
That's true.
We don't know. I mean, it's like when Chewie was announced for Episode 3, people were like, "Oh, well, how can Chewie be in this?" And it's like, "Oh, well, Wookiees live for 200 years, so."
Yeah. True. And then we heard that, of course, when Mark Newbold was on the old show, him and I had talked about this because at the time they were talking about a Boba Fett movie, which makes sense. So I assume this is going to happen because everyone loves Boba Fett, most of us anyway. I do. This is going to happen, which I'm excited for. I hope it does happen. And then this one, which kind of was a surprise to me, is a young Han Solo type movie, which because this just broke. I just didn't. I can't see this really working, in my opinion, because I can only see Han Solo as one person, and that's Harrison Ford. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, Harrison Ford, personifies Han Solo. I mean, that's who you think of. But I mean, we've seen it done before in other movies where they recast. When I think of Hannibal Lecter, all I think of is Anthony Hopkins. Yeah. But they did a movie with a young actor and made a prequel to the Hannibal thing, and it wasn't Anthony Hopkins. Just let me say that it wasn't
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins. I've only watched the movie once. I've seen Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal several times. Obviously, Silence of the Lambs is
Yeah.
a superior movie to any of the Red Dragon or anything like that.
Oh, I
But
liked Red Dragon. I liked that one.
I
That was
did.
good.
I did. I mean, anything you get Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter,
It's a good thing.
yeah, it's a good thing. But I mean, but Silence of the Lambs is where it's at. But it's hard to see those beloved characters, and I know that it's hard to Hannibal Lecter a beloved character. I don't know. I love Hannibal Lecter. I root for him in the movies. I don't want him to get captured and stuff like that. I wanted him to break out. But
Twisted by the dark side, you are.
but I think you're going to play Yoda in the Yoda spinoff.
No, I'm not that good. I'm no Tom Kane or Frank Oz, but I try. I do actually try to practice the characters because I'd love to do voice acting. I just
I'm someone I would say you have.
there you go. Actually, I think that was better than mine. Although I want to say that I want to put this out there. I would like to be an extra in the new sequels. So if anyone's listening at Lucasfilm, please by all means contact me. I'll be glad to be an extra. You can even kill me off. I don't care. Just let me be in the movie. But anyway, go ahead. As we were saying,
Yeah, he'll pay you. He will pay you.
yeah, I would actually. I'd give my whole saving account if you want, which is a whole $2 that I have in there. But well, who else do you think they would make a movie about? Who else do you think they could do if it was going to be a
I'm
spin-off?
actually surprised they're going to go back and do prequel type of things because that's really what they're talking about. Even the Boba Fett thing, they're talking about doing it in between original trilogy movies. And so, I mean, obviously, I think you have to. Otherwise, Boba Fett's like an old man, just like anything else. And, you're not getting Harrison Ford to do a Han Solo movie. I think Lucas even pitched that to Harrison once. He's like, well, I would do a movie like if and it would just be about Han Solo if you would do it. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to stand next to Chewbacca all day, basically. And I don't know. It's just the one thing that worries me is they're talking about releasing these movies in between. The new trilogy. And this is my main concern. This is where I'm going to get negative here. I'm worried about oversaturation.
Well, funny you
Star
mentioned that
Wars.
because we had one of our followers on Twitter mention this last night. He even said, "I'm worried about it," and I tweeted back to him. I said, "Well, some Star Wars is better than no Star Wars because we went for many years without anything." So,
Yes.
but I am concerned about this. Is probably my number one concern out of everything. This is where the real Disney factor comes in. This is where you kind of get worried. The same thing with Marvel. Like I'm worried all these movies are going to come out. It's going to be like, all right, I've had enough of Avengers and all this other stuff. So. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Joe.
No, that's
I keep
fine.
doing that.
No, it's fine. I'm used to it with you. No, I do
So
it.
old habits are hard to die. What can I say?
God, tell me how Rachel used to get on to me all the time about interrupting her. Can I finish talking now? Okay, I do it too all the time. No, it really that is a concern. It's just like I can't think of a good example, but it happens. I mean, you see these movies where they come out so close to each other. The Matrix did it. I think they had like 6 months. The third one bombed. Pirates of the Caribbean, they didn't wait that long to bring out from the second to the third because they film them at the same time. But then there's other examples where, like Lord of the Rings, where they were coming out every, like almost to the day, once for the next 2 years, they did all three movies. They brought out three movies basically in a 2-year span. You would have seen every single movie in the theater if you saw them on opening day, from the first one a year later and then a year later. So really, you'd have seen three movies in 2 years.
Now, they didn't say they were going to do that. Did they say they were all going to film it all at one time?
No. They didn't say that. But what they're saying is that they could release episode 7, then you get this Boba Fett movie, then they do 8, then you get this Han Solo movie, and then so basically they're kind of saying like where we might not have a year starting in 2015 going to 2021, there might not be a year where we don't have a Star Wars movie coming out.
Well, I got to say
the way
that's
it
good
kind
for
of sounds.
That's good for our podcast. I'll tell you that. we're definitely going to be here for the long haul now.
I'll tell you what's not good for it is all these technical difficulties.
Yeah, well, we apologize if there's any glitches throughout this show. We've got to knock the rust off,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah, what other character? Back to my question is, what other character you think other than Yoda, Boba Fett, and Han? What do you think would they be? I think they should have a female, maybe Princess Leia or somewhere, a young Princess Leia or something. I also have a. Well, we'll get into that when I get into the Clone Wars. But anyway, any thoughts of who they could?
You might have to go. I mean, you might have to go into the far past with Star Wars, or you might have to go into the future a little bit with it. Now, the problem with going into the future, I think, is I don't know that they know where they exactly want to go as far as telling a story and what happens. I think that's why they're writing prequel stuff now. Because they want to see where 7, 8, and 9 lead them. Yeah. Do we want to do 10, 11, and 12 eventually? And then where does that leave the galaxy? So it's hard to write a movie about any female character they might introduce in these new movies, and then saying, oh well, you're going to get your own spin-off and you're going to have your whole movie, really you're just going to be by yourself, not really an ensemble cast. It's really just going to be you. Yeah. That's going to be, I don't think they can do that at this point because they don't know where 8 is going. They have a pretty good idea where they're going with 8, but where does 9 leave them? Where do you go from there? What state does that leave the galaxy in? And you can't go write a movie 40 years into the future about some random character and then say they do decide to do 10, 11, and 12 years down the road, and then that's just going to completely retcon this other movie they did in the future of Star Wars because it doesn't match up with what was going on in the galaxy and what state it left the galaxy in for years to come.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Well, I think you're right. I guess maybe we'll see these prequels, and then after 8, we'll see something that's a little, maybe that intertwines between, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then what happens after that? I think, personally, we're going to get an Old Republic trilogy. I can't even talk. Trilogy. Sorry. I'll get it out. I'll spit it out. I think we'll definitely have to get that. I think that'll happen. There's a lot of fans that would love to see that happen. I mean, look at those Blur trailers that we used to see when we were doing the Old Republic stuff. I mean, they were amazing, which brings me into my other thing with the Clone Wars, but I'll hold that off till we get to the Clone Wars, and I'll kind of, when I wrap up on the Clone Wars, I'll talk about that. But anyway, is anything else we want to discuss about the spinoffs? You got any other tidbits or anything? I personally would love to see a female, other than like in episode 7, 8, and 9. I would love to see a female because I have a daughter now, so I kind of have a soft spot. Have her own movie where she stands alone and she's a very strong female, but. Who could that be?
I think we're going to see that, and I think the protagonist is going to be a female. The main protagonist, I think it is going to be Jaina Solo in these movies, or whatever they decide to name her, Han and Leia's daughter. I think that is going to be the main protagonist in the movie. I just have this feeling. I think with what they've done with Hunger Games. And to a very, 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 very lesser extent with Twilight. That's
a very, very, very...
Well, I know, but get what I'm saying here. The main character is a female, and it's wildly popular. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about the quality of the movies or the books. So
no, you're just saying the strong... No.
But with Hunger Games, with Katniss, these movies can make money, and the guys are going to go see Star Wars. And there is... don't get me wrong, there is a ton of female Star Wars fans as already is. And I did a lot of fan fiction back in the day. And most of the people who do fan fiction, from what I can see anyway, are females. Yeah. Even in the Star Wars realm. The Anakin Padme thing, how many girls were writing about Anakin and Padme? It was just, there is that. But I think that you want to bring in that new generation of girls, and the boys are always going to like Star Wars. That's not going to be a problem. I think
we'll go see it, even if it's technically a chick flick. We're still going to go see it. In any case, we'll move on, Joe. Unless you have anything else to say about the spinoffs. I know I don't, because it's
not at this point. But we've got 8 years to speculate on it. So.
8 years, and we're going to be here till we're like 90. This is podcast ain't
Apparently,
going anywhere.
Disney's going to make sure they're going to be releasing them. It's going to be like the Super Bowl. It's just going to be Star Wars 80.
I know, isn't that going to be weird? But anyway, actually, I wonder what'll happen. It'll probably surpass the Super Bowl in numbers at some point, and that'll just seem freakish to me. But anyway, have different Roman numerals all over the place. I'm gonna have to learn my Roman numerals now. I don't think I know anything past 10. Anyway, so let's get into the Clone Wars. Joe, I don't know if you saw it at all this weekend.
I saw
you
it,
did.
though. I watched a couple episodes leading into it also. So,
well, what'd you think?
Man, it was good, but wasn't it a little too fast paced there with the Emperor? I'd have liked a little bit more insight on his part.
Yeah, well, you got to keep him as a mystery, but they nailed it. See, this is when the Clone Wars is good. I mean, just the way he was laughing and enjoying being the Sith. I mean, it's like we finally got to see Sith being Sith, like full on, like, ha, this is what we do. It was great. I loved it.
He busted out the double lightsabers too.
Exactly.
I never knew he did the double lightsaber thing.
Well, he's fighting those guys. He kind of had to do that, but I thought they nailed this episode. Was perfect when they do stuff like that. I know the problem with the Clone Wars is sometimes I feel like it's going to be geared towards kids, and then we gotta have these few episodes that are setting up. It's almost like episode 1 in a sense that you got all these little things that set off the big payoff in the end, and we just got to go through all that. But a lot of fans are impatient, so we can't sit around. I don't want to wait for that. But the payoff is awesome, like we got today. Oh, well, last weekend, I should say. Sorry. I thought it was a fantastic episode. It was just great. I hope we get more of this. I want more of this type of stuff, and I want more of Sidious. I'm going on a rant here. I apologize. So anyway, more thoughts from you, Joe. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get all worked up. I keep saying sorry too much. I apologize, folks. There I go again. Anyway. All right, Joe, go ahead. Take the floor.
Everybody knows that. Well, not everybody knows, but I will tell everybody who does not know is that I love Ian McDiarmid, and I love every way he has ever portrayed. Betrayed. I don't know. Did he betray him? He betrays so many people. He probably betrayed himself at some point. Portrayed the Chancellor, the Emperor, Sidious, whatever character he is playing at that point inside of any movie. I absolutely love him. I think he's a brilliant actor. I think he is the best actor in all of the trilogies of any actor of all of them. Just as a pure actor, I think he is better than anybody that's in the movies or anything. So obviously he doesn't do the voice on the show or anything, but it is based off of him, and what he has done as that character. And I love him. And you know what I did? It's like the Hannibal Lecter thing. I found myself rooting for him to beat Maul.
I was too. And I'm very shocked. And spoiler alerts, people. Well, see, we really don't have a spoiler alert here. We just kind of talk about it. So if we say something, we apologize. But hey, that's just the way it is. I thought it was awesome. I mean, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say. But anyway, take the floor again, Joe. I apologize.
No, it's all right. I was rooting for him, and
yes.
I mean, obviously he can't really lose them all. I mean, he's in the
yeah. We know that outcome. 6,
so unless you haven't, if you're worried about being spoiled whether Maul beats Sidious, then I suggest you watch the original trilogy before you start watching the Clone Wars. But no, I mean, I found myself rooting for the Emperor. And I have to wonder what use he will find for Maul in the coming seasons of the Clone Wars, and how many ever seasons really there will be left of it. I can't imagine that there will be much more of it, though.
No.
But another season or two, maybe.
It can't be more than that. If you watch the preview for next week's episode, Sabotage, there's buzz droids. The way it just feels like we're within striking distance of episode 3 now. So something's gonna. It's got to wrap up within the next year and a half or so. It has to, but it's so good now. Like the stories, like when we get stuff like this, it's like awesome, and we just need more of that. And I agree with you. I was rooting for the Emperor. I'm like, it's just the dialogue, the way he was fighting, like the little things, like he cut, like when he first starts to attack him, he does his little thing with the lightsaber on the floor, and then he does his moves. The way he was moving, he was using the Force. It was just awesome. That rivals anything we saw in the movie for a duel. In my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think it was better than anything we saw in Revenge of the Sith, to be honest. I thought it was fantastic. I hope we get more of this, but it'll probably end on a little a lull. We won't get anything as dramatic as we got here. I'm just curious as to why. I was hoping what I was hoping to see was Obi-Wan catches him fighting Maul and Savage, and Savage dies, of course, because he's got to have a sacrifice. And Obi-Wan kind of saves Maul in a sense when he kind of stumbles in upon this, and the Emperor's kind of just sitting in the background in the shadows. You can't really see him, but you can see his teeth, and he's smirking and laughing. That would have been cool. And Obi-Wan tries to go get him, but he does something to him, and Obi-Wan wakes up, and then Maul's gone and stuff like that. That would have been cool to me, but what they did was probably better than what I just thought of anyway. I thought it was fantastic, and I can't wait to see what the season ends. I think Ahsoka dies myself, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks anyway.
You think she's going to die this season?
I think so. You gotta start now. You gotta do it. You gotta get the. Dave Filoni had who plays, I forget, Matt Lantner, is that his name? I can't remember his name for some stupid reason. And Ashley Eckstein, he called them in to do the final dialogue between each other, I believe is what happened. And he had everyone else get out of the studio. So that leads me to believe this is her dying, so to speak. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong because she's such a good character. I like her. It's amazing when we first got the Clone Wars, a lot of people didn't like her so much, and now everyone kind of likes her, especially the female fans. They love her. And I don't blame her. She reminds me kind of like a Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Well, I met Ashley in Seattle back in August at Geek Girl Con. I ended up doing a panel with her.
Yeah.
So I always kind of felt Ahsoka had to die, but if she dies before the series is really even done, before even the last season, like I feel kind of. I know Ashley's got a lot of other stuff going on with her universe and stuff like that, but now I'm gonna feel bad for Ashley if Ahsoka dies.
I will too, but you gotta start the unraveling of Anakin more. You gotta get him more into the darker side. It's gotta show up a little bit more. Then it's getting there. It's just, I think it's gonna happen. Although I think Ventress gets killed. I'll say that if Ahsoka lives this season, Ventress will probably be the one that dies. If you look at the previews and everything, I think it's one of the two is going to die, obviously. But that's what I'm going. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to throw it out there. She's going to die. I'm saying that.
Well, wasn't it in the original expanded universe in the books that Ventress was the one who gave Anakin the scar on his eye, right? So I was always thinking, like, I always thought, I don't know, does he have the scar right now?
Yes, he does.
The Clone Wars? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I don't know what they've done with all that, but I always thought that maybe Ventress, but now they've kind of changed her character and what she's all about.
Correct,
but
yes.
Originally, I thought that maybe she would kill Ahsoka and then Anakin would go dark side bat crazy and just annihilate her. Like, she would kill him in front of him, like somehow she would incapacitate him for a second. She'd kill Ahsoka. And then he would just go Darth Vader all over and just destroy her.
That could be the possibility. That would be pretty awesome.
But does it make sense anymore? I haven't watched all the episodes, so does it make sense for Ventress to even fight Ahsoka or Anakin at this point? I'm not sure.
Well, you see it in the trailer, they're fighting, so you kind of wonder, well, why? Because Ventress at the end of last year was kind of like, she left and kind of did her own thing.
It seemed like she had turned almost to a tweener character. She wasn't good or she wasn't bad. She was just kind of like in that middle, like
a mercenary
middle section. Yeah, she wasn't really a good or bad. I don't know. Does Dooku lay his claws back into her or something? I don't know.
Well, if anything, you get the feeling like she just walked away from all of that. Like in a sense, like she's over the Dooku thing, she's over Savage, Maul, and everybody, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and all that. Like, frig this. I don't need the aggravation anymore. I'm just gonna go and be my mercenary self or something like that. But we'll see. It should be coming up soon. This week, I think we'll find out what the hell's going on with her as well. Maybe not this week, but the following week we'll probably get a hint of what's going on there. So, but I guess what I wanted to say. Speaking of spin-offs, I know we've had a few glitches tonight, so this hasn't been the smoothest show, everyone. So we apologize for that, but we got to get this first episode out there. We got to knock the rust off. But one final thing I'm going to say before we start closing up the show is, I hope when the Clone Wars wraps up that we move into like the same kind of cartoon, that 3D animation stuff, because they got good writers, they got good animation. It's good stuff. It's a good crew that they have. I hope it carries into like a new series that's like the birth of the rebellion or something like that. I hope we see something like that. That I would like to see for a spinoff, and I think Disney will do that because I believe they're inheriting the Clone Wars next year, and they're going to want to have something on the Disney network. And I believe they're going to do the Jedi Youngling series, which I don't know if you saw that earlier in the season. They had a story arc with Jedi Younglings, which was pretty good. It wasn't bad. So you'll probably see that as well. And with that, I guess we should close out the show here, Joe. I think we have a fan spotlight. We're going to highlight a fellow fan site or a blog or a podcast or something like that. Do you have anything, Joe, this week?
I don't have anything this week. Go ahead with what you got.
All right. Well, I was just going to mention to check out Jimmy Mack and Jason and their new adventure on Rebel Force Radio. I believe I said that right. I hope I did, guys. If I didn't, I apologize immensely. But these two guys actually inspired me and many of others, I'm sure, to start their own podcast, their own Star Wars podcast, and to spread the word of the gospel of Star Wars, if you will. And I thank them immensely, and I especially thank Jimmy Mack for getting back to me. He sent me a nice email back when I sent him one thanking him and everything. So I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. I appreciate that. And hopefully we get to work with them some point. And they're always welcome to come on the show. So I highly recommend to check them out, especially the Clone Wars Declassified. I love that show. That's usually on Tuesday nights when they air it live. But, of course, you can download it on iTunes and stuff like that. So, and I don't know if their website's coming up soon. It's not launched yet, but it'll probably be out sooner or later. But they're probably doing a really professional job, I assume, because those guys do top-notch things. And go and check them out, and you'll enjoy them as I do and everyone else does. So that's all I have for my fan fiction. My fan spotlight. Wow. Oh, it's been a rough show, Joe. But we got through it.
It's fan fiction. Everything you just said is a lie.
Oh, no, it's not a lie. No. But anyway, I don't even know where we're going with that. But anyway, like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/the Cantina Cast. I can't even talk. We're done.
That's it. One episode. It's over.
It. We're done. We might as
well come back
in
a year and do it again.
Yeah. So anyway, facebook.com/the Cantina Cast. You can find us on Twitter at the Cantina Cast. That's all one word. And I think Joe had an email. Did you? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's cantinacastfanmail@gmail.com. I know some people don't like to post on the Facebook or Twitter, but just we really want interaction with everybody. That if they listen, we want interaction from it. We want comments from everybody. I know some people just don't like to do it at all. Some people just don't like to do it in a public forum. So, that's what the email's for. If you want to send in comments, any corrections, if we messed up on anything, or say, hey, you might want to add this, or if there's anything else Star Wars related that, you have an opinion, we can share it on the air, anything like that. So just, cantinacastfanmail@gmail.com.
True. You're probably going to have a lot of corrections for me because I tend to screw up a lot of things. Because I tend to, when I'm looking between the show notes and trying to record and talk, I always screw up something. So I'm sure you guys will point that out anyway. And I appreciate that anyway. And like Joe said, we want interaction. So don't ever hesitate to get in touch with us on Twitter, Facebook, or the fan mail. And we'll be glad to read your emails or interact with you any way we can because we're all about the fans. We're all fans, and we just want to talk Star Wars and have a good time. So with that, we've ended the show, Joe. We survived our first return. Oh, it was rough, but we got through it. And
I might have one limb left, but I survived. But I think I just have a mechanical arm left after this.
That's okay. We survived. It's only going to get better from here on out, folks. So please stick with us and tune in. Oh, and one last thing. I just got an email update. We are on Stitcher now, so you can find us on Stitcher. I just got to set all that up. I got to figure that out now on top of everything else. So that's it for the show, and we will see you in probably 2 weeks. We'll probably do it every 2 weeks for a while, unless something big happens. We'll put a podcast out. But in any case, thank you for joining us and suffering through our first episode back, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.